Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the very first episode of Dark Chatter with Mojo and Monkey. I'm Monkey, also known as Dan Decker, also known as the Commodore on Twitter. And with me, as always, and soon to be always, my good friend Mojo Coco. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. This is exciting. Woohoo!
What is this, though? What is this? What are we doing here?
So, this is a podcast to discuss a show called Dark Matter. Now, if you haven't heard it, this is a show produced and written by Joseph and his pal Paul. Joe, you might know, he came into season 4 of Stargate and he has written for Stargate SG1, Atlantis, and Stargate Universe. So,
Mhm.
seasoned veteran of writing for sure.
Big sci-fi. If you have any interest in a sci-fi shows, you probably have seen Joe's name, Joseph Malazzi's name, on the ending credits of some of your favorite stuff. And if not, well, here's your chance to get into it. So, uh, what we're going to do here is we're going to go through. My friend Coco, she has seen Dark Matter all the way through. I have not, and this is my first watch. And so, if you, the listener, would like to go along on the journey with us as we discover who perhaps maybe we really are, or are we, or are we that person, or are we? Who knows? We're going to find out because, like all good sci fi, science fiction is just the background in which we tell a human story. And in this instance, it's probably one of the most human stories, I think. You know, when you are left to absolutely nothing but your instinct, what kind of person actually are you, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. So let's see here. We're going to start at the beginning, as everyone should. So, fair warning, spoiler alerts ahead. Okay. So, when you hear the spoiler warning siren, you are going to know that from that point forward, all bets are off regarding the episode of discussion. We're going to do our very best not to spoil ahead. That's just the nature of it. At this point, I have seen past episode one, but would want to keep it siloed to, kind of where we are so that we all go through this growth together. Okay. So thank you for being here and thank you for listening. Coco, thank you for being the world's bestest co-host and being here to do the show with me. Um,
Oh, you
I'm
are
going
too
to
kind.
I'm going to run down real quick synopsis, and then I'll let you I'll go down and we'll talk about each of the characters one at a bit there to kind of set up where we're going from there, and then we'll get into what this episode actually gets into. All right, so with episode one. Uh, Conveniently titled episode one of season one of Dark Matter. There are six people who awaken from stasis on an unknown starship. None of them can remember who they are or what they are doing on the ship, and they name themselves one through six based on the order in which they've awoken. Searching the ship, two of them are attacked by the ship's android, whom they manage to deactivate and reset. They are then attacked by another ship, but manage to escape via faster than light travel. Their destination is an independent mining colony, and the miners are awaiting help and weapons to defend themselves from a powerful megacorporation, the Ferris Corp. The crew vote to deliver half of the weapons and keep the other half to sell. The android then extracts information from the ship's corrupted data files that states that all of them, with the exception of five, are wanted murderers and thieves. They conclude that they were hired by Ferris to kill the miners. So that condenses quite a wallop of an episode into I you we talked a little bit ahead of time about the impact, what your initial feelings were on this.
Hmm.
So take yourself back, take us back, take all of us back with you, Coco, to the moment when, yeah, that if you can recall the first time you saw this episode and
hmm
what that felt like at the end.
Well, I think it was about last year when I got around to watching it. Obviously, I was excited because I was really into Stargate. Um, I knew Joe from obviously that, and I knew him via Twitter, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be good because he's going to bring the qualities he had from Stargate to this, so let's do this. So yeah, I sat down and started to watch it. Obviously, I would say the first few minutes themselves were exciting slash what the hell's going on because
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
was very chaotic. People were waking up and like they were fighting within the first few minutes already. I was like, wow, getting it
Right.
with the action like straight away. I was like, yikes. And then obviously you get to the point where they're like, I think it's three that walks in and he's like, who are you? And they're like, actually I don't know.
Don't know who I am. Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously at this point, I don't think I knew how many crew members there were. So obviously, you got individual shots of them each waking up, and I was like, oh, when's this? Who's going to be
How
the
many
last
are
one to
there?
wake up?
Yeah.
Yeah, how many people are there? And then we got to obviously six, and
Now,
then it got
oh, go ahead.
interesting.
It did get
No,
interesting.
yeah.
And we'll get into kind of the ins and outs of their rediscovery. You noted, of course, and that was one of the things that I took away after my first watch. I think I might have seen this episode 3 times by now. Um, One because, like, I watched it the first time and it was just wham, and then I wanted to watch it again. And then, as they say in the biz, show prep. uh, but um, but yeah, that it hit literally hits the ground running. You see one who is one of the male characters, kind of a slight, smallish. He's not to be dismissed, but he is definitely not the broadest or beefiest member of our Ilmec crew. But he's the first one to wake up, hence his name, followed by two, who is one of the lady, female people on the crew. And she shows up. Obviously, one has got no clue what's going on. He's punching wildly at buttons, thinking that he knows what it's all about because there's klaxons blaring. Something's wrong with the ship. You're getting a countdown to life support failure, which I caught on this time around. Is the android's voice? It didn't sound like the android to me the first time, but it
Yes,
is the
I
android's
picked that
voice.
up as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
I
like,
was like, it
I
is
didn't.
android.
Yeah, I didn't even click that. I think the first two times, and
Well,
when I watched
because
it this time
she's
around, I
not
was like,
connected to
oh.
the ship until she is, and we'll get there. But yeah, I was like, oh, that is Android voice, and Android's rhyme or cadence and meter as well. Very much Android counting down to your death. But oh, excuse me. They get into a fight right away, like you said,
Mm.
and she pretty much handles him and gets him out of the way, basically. And that's pretty much what she says is, move. And she figures out how, or she knows what to do to set the ship right. But by then, everyone's been awakened from stasis, and 3, 4, 5, and 6 all come to the party in short order. But the ending of it, and we'll jump ahead to that, when we find out, as it says, that they are all, a save for five, they are all thieves and murderers.
Mm.
In that moment, um, what did you feel when that happened?
Well, I thought it was interesting because I remember distinctly when they went down to the planet and they were discussing that, they were expecting the Raza to come or something. I think that's what they said, if I remember correctly. And for some reason, I just conjured up this image of these, really evil, creepy aliens
I had two, yeah.
species. Yeah, I was like, oh, it's like this mysterious, creepy alien species that, because obviously there was like these myths about them and all that. And I was like, ooh. And then obviously to get to the end of the episode and find out, oh, the people on the planet who they were worried about is them. I was
It's
like,
them.
whoa,
Yeah. It
mind blown.
it was. I paused the playback and stared at myself. I hadn't been that dumbstruck by a reveal in quite some time, and that's one of the first things that draws you back into the show. Uh, uh, every episode, I can't imagine what it was like, and it sounds like yourself as well. You didn't have to wait till next week to see the next episode. That with the world of streaming, we're able to go right into episode 2, thankfully. But for me, I've been trying to, as I go, I try to keep it to just 1 or 2 episodes because one, we know while the show was developed with an intended limited run, it didn't even
Mm.
get that far. Unfortunately, there are still we won't know the full story for this crew and its ship when we get to the end of this podcast, just because
Yeah.
there's not enough dark matter left to
I,
tell the
I
story
want to just add a yet to that because let's
yet.
just say Joe's definitely working
He's gonna
to,
find a
to,
way.
to get, yeah, he's going to find a way. We are going to get the final few episodes, or at least the
A
story
closure to
that
the
we
story.
deserve.
That's right.
Yes.
You know, and I imagine I'll just speak it into existence. Joe's gonna listen to this podcast. He's gonna do it, and so he's gonna be able to hear us say that whatever we can do to help, you
Oh,
know,
yeah,
yeah, hit us up.
definitely.
uh, Coco and I will
Yeah,
gladly help.
totally.
Yeah,
I'm very cheap.
yeah. Oh yeah. No, I work for screen
I, w-
credit.
I work for free.
Yeah.
Just hire me.
Oh, it'd be so amazing. I would die. I would totally die. But yeah, so we get that build up though, like you said. We're going back and forth as we, as the crew comes around. We get through 1 through 6. 3 comes up. He's your fighter, right? So you got 1 is kind of your ranger, 2 or not, 1 is a paladin, 2 is a ranger, 3 is the fighter, right?
Yeah.
4 is your monk, 5, she's a bit of a wizard, and
Yeah.
then and 6 is your cleric. Is how, and then I mean you got your basic adventuring party lined out. And then, of course, Android comes around, and she is not to be discounted just for having been the Android by a little. She is very much one of my favorite characters, and
Mm,
fastly so. She comes online and makes an impact, to say the least. But ends up being before even the end. I mean, very quickly they reset her, and she's on the side of us and the crew at
yeah.
that point. But as it goes through, we learn about the colony that is suffering under the rain. I don't know if it's a rain control. That's a better probably way to put it, given the framing of this
Yeah.
universe. Control of one of the mega corporations, the Ferris Corp. Because they have there's some ore or some such on the planet, as often there is when there's a mine involved, and
Yeah.
they're expecting to be devastated by the Raza, quote the Raza. Right? The Raza, as you mentioned, uh, made out to be a species of like you get the image of like the Reavers, just bad dudes, bad
Mm.
people. That was at least what I got, was the image that I got before the reveal of what the Raza actually is.
Yeah, I totally got the whole this it's a crazy mean alien species that I don't know why I kind of had the whole reptilian teeth
I did
look in
too.
my
Yeah,
head. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know,
I
and
was like
that's
the
like the Zindi reptiles or something. It's just
yes,
something about the
Cindy's.
name, the
Or
Raza. It gives you
have you
that.
ever yeah, have you ever seen oh, it's like Jumanji but set in space. Zathura.
Oh, oh, I haven't seen it. I've wanted to, but
Yes,
I watched a special on it. Believe it or
yeah.
not.
Well, basically, there's an alien species of that, and they have reptilian, but like crocodile heads.
Oh yeah,
Freaky as. And I was
yeah.
like, it was a mix of that, the Xindi. Oh, and the reptilian species from Galaxy Quest. It was like
Oh,
all that
hmm.
mushed together. I was just like, are we going along? Yeah, I was thinking, oh, we're going along the lines of that, that kind of creepy alien species.
Well, and isn't that something though? Because there isn't anything in and you and I both came to a very reptile like, gruesome image of the Raza. Um, but there isn't anything in the dialogue. There isn't anything that leads you to believe that that's the kind of species you're going to be dealing with.
I know,
Um,
it's
it, it, it,
strange.
we both built that image all on our own. And I guess that I wonder if that speaks to the reptile brain in our brain. you know.
Clearly,
The
clearly.
reptile brain and our monkey brain, you know. We're not as smart as we think we are, people.
Well, I think it's just like normally when you do get bad guys, alien
They're-
wise,
right.
they're rarely of the fluffy kind, are they?
Well, they're not. Yeah, you know, it's like you the Ewoks did not necessarily murder. Well, they did murder the stormtroopers. Let's be honest. But you know, you don't really think of Ewoks when you think of a conquering crew or species called the Raza. Fluffy teddy bears is not what comes to mind. Um, but yeah, we learn. You know, it's one represents our desire to always want to be the best of who we are, right? That's he wants to
Definitely.
believe the best about himself and the people he's with. We are obviously here to be the heroes. We are obviously meant to fight the Raza with these. And you know, and you're like, yeah, yes, yes, yes. I
Yeah.
believe this. I am believing this now. Um, and you know, there's more to why his psyche is like that that we'll come to find out later.
Hmm.
You know, he's a freaking Russian nesting doll, turns out. But we'll keep that for later episodes.
Put
Just
that in the box for later.
put that in the box for later. Put that in your Russian nesting doll. But you know, he always, and even and this isn't a spoiler, but past this episode, he is the one who is always like, you know, this isn't who we are. We don't have to be this. We can be whatever we want now. The one who's always, you know, trying to uh, reframe and rebuild from the best parts of humanity.
Definitely. I would
Where
almost say he's like the Daniel Jackson of the dark matter universe,
he is, you know,
where he's like
practical, but
trying, yeah,
yeah,
trying to find the best in the situation, what they can do, the consciousness of the group.
right, right. And then two is the pragmatist. You know, it's very much, well, here are, you know, we have five apples, and that means we have five apples. And that's all there is to reality at that point is, you know, there's no we can only make decisions based on the information we have, and we have no information right now. And it's just a very logistical you know, coordinating mindset. That's how I think that's how she just defaults to is kind of a problem solver more than an action doer, right? Problem solvers wait for a problem. They have a specific set of instructions or orders that we go through, and then boom, problem fixed. Wait for next problem. That's kind of the layer that two plays, right?
Yes, definitely.
And then
I mean,
three
you
is
can.
his role is obvious.
He is basically like the Han Solo of the dark matter universe. He's like a naughty boy, but I mean, I don't know about you, but I didn't really like him for the first few episodes. Like
Mm-mm, did not.
he definitely like I mean, I don't know about you, but who would you drawn to at first in this episode
Oh, as me,
as a character?
well, probably. I mean, the one who intrigued me the most was four.
Hmm.
But the one that I immediately empathized with five. I will always gravitate to the outcast, odd kid,
Yeah,
person who obviously
same.
needs a hug and a friend. You know, because and to that point, that is Five's role for us in the show. She is
Yeah.
audience proxy. She's, you know, as, in a group of people who are wholly confused, she's fucking more confused than the rest, and that's us. And has
Yeah,
a key role to
I
play
loved
in
her
all of it. But
too.
yeah, and
Definitely.
and well played too. I don't know how old the actor was at the time the show ran, but doesn't come over as annoying child actor. So perhaps they were a bit older, more mature than the role they played. But um, and
Yeah,
that's
I
one
think
thing that's
I was just gonna say I think Eodell was playing a 16. I could be wrong. I think she's meant to be playing like a 16-year-old or something like that. Not very
yeah,
old, I know that
yeah.
much. But in reality, she was about in her 20s.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, that is still a bridgeable gap because there's just, there's a crossover point where actors become not child actors, and they're
Yeah.
and not every child actor is good, and that's okay. We still need them. But this was definitely one of those where it didn't feel like the, not playing the wonder kid trope because, because you need one. But she has a role to play on the crew now, that they
Yeah,
obviously need filled. But it isn't, she isn't just magically always got the answer, which is nice
definitely.
because if you can't tell, folks, she plays the tech whiz side of things. That's why she's the wizard. Uh,
But like,
um,
like I said, you would that's the characters you're drawn to. I've yet to meet someone who was like, oh yeah, I was drawn to three pretty
mm,
instantly.
yeah, yeah.
Like
No,
if
he
I
is
meet
the
someone who's
id.
like that, yeah, if I meet someone who's like I was drawn to that character, I was like, wow, okay, fair enough. But
Three is the
he
raw id
is,
exposed.
yeah, he's kind of like at first he's just like, you're kind of annoying.
Yeah, to her. But he knows, well, he is willing to. He's going to space her at one point. I don't know. That's not in this, is it? Not in episode one.
No.
No. So ignore that. But yeah, he definitely. Well, the tension is going to be there. We're not ruining anything really, but he is an irascible. He is instinct. He is masculinity on overdrive. Everything can be
Mm.
solved with booze or a bullet, or even or it's like three B's: booze, bullets, or bigger guns. Is
Yeah.
basically how Boone
I
at four
mean,
B's works.
I think at this point he's just very self-orientated. He
Hmm.
kind of wants to do what he thinks is like best for him. Like he's not
Yep.
really bothered about the rest of the crew so much. He's not really bothered about the miners. He's just like, what's going to benefit us?
And more so, like, he is in this episode especially, he's looking for the quickest way to dissociate. He isn't even honestly concerned with who he used to be. He really doesn't care that he doesn't know what's going on. He kind of, he's like, obviously I have a particular set of skills, and I know I exist in a world where these skills will make me money. And that's about all he needs to know. And
Totally.
the sooner he can scrap parts and sell for what he can get and cut bait with this crew, he would be none the happier if that were the way things went. But
Yeah.
that it doesn't go that way. Um,
Hmm.
what about four? What do you think about four?
So that was interesting. So, like, I think now for the first, what, 15, 20 minutes, he barely says anything.
Hmm.
And you're like,
That's a
hmm,
kind of a trend with four. He doesn't
yeah.
speak much.
But it made him more intriguing. And then obviously you get to the part where he's like, bless him, you got one, he's going off on this tirade. I mean, it completely reminds me. I think this kind of that would be me in that situation. Like, let me just talk through what's going on, even if you don't respond. And he's just going off on one. And then he like turns to four. Because obviously he says, I think something like, oh, if our memories are completely wiped, we wouldn't even know how to talk. And then he turns to four, who says nothing. He's like, well, you're close to disproving my theory. Oh, that was so funny. And then he's just like, this way. He's like, okay then.
He is four comes across as the epitome of stoicism, and it kind of, where we have three being the id, four is the um it's the subconsciousness of the group, right?
Mm,
Um, four processes all the sensory input and filters everything through uh, a calm, serene, koi pond of no emotion, right?
yeah,
Uh, he everything he does, and sometimes very quickly, because he is a he is a trained um, uh, fighter, but everything he does is filtered through that non-emotional reaction. And especially early on, he's letting these people tell him who he is or who they are, and not giving up any information. He may very well remember everything, but you wouldn't know by the
yeah,
way he behaves. um, but that's that's very much the group's subconscious. He's the one who's processing everything when everybody else is dallying on about, and you kind of come up with the solution in the back of your head when you're not paying attention. Um,
Well, you know what they say, you got to be careful of the quiet ones.
exactly. It's, by the time the quiet one makes noise, it's too late.
Yeah.
So, and
But
we talked
I
about, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I just love the scene where, like, for up to then you've been really quiet. You get to the scene where they get to the training room, and he just completely like showcases
So
his
good,
skills,
isn't
and you're
it?
just like, yeah, you're just like, oh,
And
that's
you can
good.
tell too, and listeners, pay attention when you watch fight choreography or weapon play choreography. Pay attention to how many cuts they have to edit, because that tells you how good the performer was.
Mm.
And fewer edits, better performer, because they don't have to cut so many foibles to make it look like it's awesome. And there are very few cuts when he shows off. It is. You can see the actor, Alex Malari Jr. You can see that he knows how to do that. He's trained
Totally.
in when he does the double swords in the helicopter blade. So so good. But
Yeah.
yeah, but he's a trained swordsman. Turns out, which kind of doesn't do a whole lot to for the rest of the crew to kind of come to trust him. It seems, because now he's not only is he quiet, but he's also a quiet murderer, or could be a quiet murderer.
Yeah.
The sword is a very silent weapon, and he's obviously very good at it. And
Hmm.
but yeah, he turns into um, as we go through season one, he turns into um, has a lot ends up with a lot more depth than you might imagine, and
Yes.
becomes one of the stories that I am more interested in, um, because of all the things that come to light about how things can work against someone. It is,
Yeah.
but yeah, I really, as someone who also fascinated by sword work and martial arts, really kind of enjoyed that.
Mm.
Mhm. What about we talked about five? Is there anything more to say about our fun little tech
For
monkey?
me, I brought this up when I did Dark Matter Monday. I think it was just gone, and I think we were like, I think it was then, but basically we were like, who you kind of are on the
Hmm.
show.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, I as much as I'd like to be two,
Yeah. You're
I'm just
five.
five. I'm
You're five.
five. Like
Yeah.
I've definitely got two's more sense of I won't let people run me over,
Right.
or walk
Right.
over me. But besides that, I'm just very much five. Like that's just so me.
I can see that. That's an interesting question. I would peg myself as six. You know,
Yes, you are
just
definitely
chaotic
six.
good. Bless him. He ends up trying to do the right thing, and we'll find out about that. But yeah, you are totally a five, and I would feel myself I would think of myself as a six. Um,
Yeah. I
but
mean, going on to six, he's definitely the almost father figure of the group,
yeah, yeah,
especially to
he's the
five.
reason in the group.
Mm,
If we were assigning emotions or consciousness, bits of consciousness to the crew, he would be the reason, the sound of reason, against the id of three. Um, and he's the one who makes, in that process, would make two's cold calculations feel less cold. Because
mm,
he's um, bringing the centered seems to be bringing the centered answer back to the group, always reminding the group to stay grounded. And he turns out he's really good at flying the shuttle.
yes.
That was
Just like how two knew how to restore the ship's why is the name gone out of my head? You know what I mean.
life support.
The life support.
Yeah,
Or yeah,
yeah.
it was the same as six. He just kind of sat down and was just like, I know what to do.
Which
It's
kind of
just
slots
there.
them into at least those two get slotted into default roles. Turns out there's not a whole lot else to do other than someone captain the ship and someone fly the shuttle. As far as the ship's operations uh, on board, um, most everything is handled via Android, who is easy enough to overlook as a member of the crew because she doesn't have a number. uh,
Yeah.
they just call her Android as far as I've gotten along to. That's her name is Android.
Well, I
And
don't think it's much of a spoiler, but it just is Android
it's just Android
for for
until
the
yeah,
show. Yeah.
and which is she is great.
Oh yes.
Zoe Palmer plays that. It's all in the face, just like any good, um, you know, picking up some through lines from like Data and Andromeda. All good androids are played in the face. Because it's the fuck you talk about human look. If you can nail that look, you can play an android. And starts off though, she is ship security protocol. I never quite understood why she's on default attack mode because ostensibly even before the mind wipe this would have been the crew.
hmm
So I'm not sure why she wakes up mad, but she does.
It's possible. This is just a theory,
Okay, lay it on me.
and I also apologize if it has been explained in the series and we just missed it.
Yeah,
um, but they weren't supposed to wake up at this
true.
point. I
Fair.
don't
That's
think
true. You're right. They
so.
did say that. You're right. That was that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, like, I
Um,
think if maybe it had gone according to plan, they would have woken up, uh, taken her off that automatic protect protocol,
yeah.
and been
And
fine.
then got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So since they woke up out of order, and then they didn't know
Well,
to
and
disarm her, basically.
precisely because, like, if they still had the memories, they probably would have woken up. Okay, got to do this, do that. Base
Right.
crash, bosh, sorted
Okay.
out,
So and
onwards.
they're
Um,
basically in the mode of let's not die first, and then does anyone know how to turn on an Android? Oh my God, no. That makes a lot of sense now. That makes a lot of sense. Well, thankfully, though, she's soon to be not disabled, but uh, then restored to less murdery robot mode, which is helpful to the crew because then uh, once the android interfaces with our ship, they're able to start affecting repairs and get a sense of what's going on the ship.
Mm,
But also, they task Android with trying to recover the lost data that
yeah.
represents who they were as people. But in the meantime, they're they made their way to the colony or the mining colony, the mining planet. We've met our intrepid heroes down on the planet, the miners themselves. A couple of endearing characters there to get us on their side, and
hmm
one is still constantly, yeah, we're the good guys. This is what we're here to do, and more and more and more, I'm buying into it. You're probably buying into it. We're rallying with the
hmm
miners, right? And now we've met everybody. We've met one and two and three and four and five and six. And the android, there's one character of the show yet, though, that we haven't met yet. And at the very end, we find out who that is. Who is it?
Themselves.
Themselves. Basically, yes. Basically, yes, themselves. The Raza,
Yep.
everyone. We find out who the Raza is, and it's the ship that we've been with this entire time. And Android reveals that to us, and it is it. I don't recall a shot. I won't call it a shocking reveal. I mean, it is. It shocked me. So I guess that's the definition of it. But at the same time, it it caught my breath. Just
Hmm.
as I had really bought the one side of this. I was like, yeah, this all makes so much sense. That's good storytelling. to
Yes.
because you know, like we talked about earlier, uh they didn't I wasn't cheated. I didn't get led astray. My mind filled in all of those blanks for me, right?
Yeah.
You know, I let the story on the screen play out the way I wanted it to in my head. I wanted them,
Yeah.
you want them to be the good guy, you want them to be there to
Well,
help.
I think we're just so used to seeing that narrative that we're
Hmm.
always following the good guys.
Hmm. Yep.
So it's very easy to swallow, so to speak.
Well, and that's who
You're
you want to be too, I
yeah,
think.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're following these guys. There's these miners who are in a sticky situation, which I think you kind of yourself are like, oh, I would want to help them.
Yep.
And they obviously, they're like, yeah, we should help them. You're like, "Oh, okay, this is going how, you'd normally think it would be going." And then right at the end, you're like, oh, we're actually the people they're terrified about.
Yep. Yeah.
Like,
And
we're bad. We're evil. Like,
yeah.
what's going on?
Well, and 5 out of 6 of us, 5 out of 6 crew members are sorted past, to say the least. And the only one without any record whatsoever, it turns out, is Five herself.
Yeah,
And that'll
which
all
is
make sense.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that was interesting because obviously, and this is to reiterate to any of the followers who have only watched this one time round, you need to rewatch it because you catch so much more stuff on the second or even third time you watch it through.
Right. Right.
Because Joe and his team, they just did such a great job of
It's
putting little
very
snippets
well
in
pieced
that,
together.
yeah, that they pay off down the line. But
Yep.
obviously, when you're first watching it, you're not taking it all in. When you rewatch it, you're like, oh my days, like that was there from that early on.
Yep. And
So it's just like so good.
that's the level I've come to appreciate, just in the short run that I've had through season one so far. I actually in season two, but I think I'll pause that and continue to go back and catch up through season one as we get together to continue to do this show. But those, laying those little bits and pieces, the storytelling trope of it is called, Chekhov's gun. If you see the gun, then the gun better pay off later, is essentially what that means. And um, sometimes you're shown Chekhov's gun and you don't even know it, and then it pays off, and you're just
Like,
later on, your head just,
whoa.
your brain melts over it. And that is, and you've talked to him, and we'll get into this a little bit. I think I've talked to him, and when you bring this show up and you discuss this with Joe, the man's face changes. It's like, I mean, you can have, you've seen the whole thing where a rainy day and then the sunshine breaks through the clouds. That's exactly the kind of, and what I took away from that is that, you know, you have a story like this that was intended to have was a package deal.
Mm,
And you, when you know that, when you craft that story and it's built to be delivered in the medium that it was, through television, in the manner that it was, episodic storytelling, uh, with the storytellers that they had, you can lay these bits and pieces and pay them off without having to, like, sometimes as series go on and they may not have been as well planned or well
mm,
mapped out. You feel like sometimes those quote unquote payoffs were the writers going back and looking for things that they could draw from rather than picking up threads they laid down. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Yeah. Not saying that is, I mean, you got to be just as creative to go back and pull something out as you do to lay something down. So that is not a slight towards it. I'm not the one writing TV shows, you guys. I don't know if you've noticed that or not, but I'm not, I'm not here to openly criticize how those people do that job, because I'm not probably good at it. But
Mm,
those kinds of payoffs, that it just continues to reward you for following along. You get
mm,
rewarded for being an attentive viewer. And I will suggest, dear listeners, if you find yourself struggling to get into a new show in this age of binge worthy TV, and the fact that binging is easy to do, two things have helped me: avoid the binge. Don't binge if you can, especially if it's something that you're unfamiliar with. Binge the hell out of all the things that you love. If you've seen it 1,000 times, please binge it another 1,000 times. You cannot binge Star Trek too much, but new stuff, slow down and enjoy the ride. You will finish this series depressingly quickly if you binged it. You would be done in
Totally.
you could be done in a week if you didn't watch yourself, and that something needs to be savored still yet, and that's a thing that I've learned is, if it's an unfamiliar show, something new that I want to watch, make the time I spend with it incredibly intentional. Put the little hate box down, and don't doom scroll while I'm watching, and put on subtitles. And because the subtitles force you to pay attention, one, when they're on, it distracts me to the fact that they are on, and then I start reading them. So it works for me. It may not work for you. I don't know. That's my recommendation. Take it 1 to 2 episodes at a time. 2 episodes, because this is a hard show to put out, isn't it?
Definitely.
It's hard
Absolutely.
to just absorb one episode and be done with it, and especially if that one episode is episode one. I could not imagine what it was like to have to wait a whole week,
To find out.
because
Oh,
it is a
wait.
deadbeat drop.
Yeah, I mean, some of the cliffhangers that we have in this show is seriously just like, oh my gosh.
Right, and that is where my mind is framed with that, and two, this is something I learned rewatching Battlestar Galactica as we can with my oldest son Noah, is that we only watch an episode at a time, and when we're on our rhythm, we're watching one episode every week, just like it had to come on TV. And there are a couple times we've broken that rule when it's a good two-parter. You don't want to break the
Of
continuity if you
course.
don't have to. And so if it's intentionally a two-part episode, then go for it. But if it's a season cliffhanger, you gotta wait, you know, where it's
Give it
one
some
episode to the
time.
next. You let it digest, and he loves it. I asked him, I was like, "Would you want to watch a couple, 3 episodes at a time?" He's like, "No, Dad, one a week. That's the best way to do it." And and this show is like that too. And Netflix they'll just snap the next one, right? I mean, you got to be quick, or because as soon as it starts, there's no stopping. I mean, man, you got as well. You're stuck in it. You're sucked in.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there's a reason they have that sign pop up like about after 10, 20 episodes.
are you still
Are
watching?
you still there?
Yeah,
Are you there? Are
the at
you
the rate
okay?
it does. Um, because yeah, this is one show that will. I mean, I can't say that every episode isn't a cliffhanger, because it feels like every episode is a cliffhanger. There's definitely a lot of
Yeah.
good moments. Um, and even too, like, being that it was developed for broadcast TV, it has commercial beats in it too. And even the like the half-second commercial beats was from one shot to the next is still like, you know,
Oh my
you
gosh.
get that through the episodes, right?
Yeah.
And but yeah, it turns out that we have been with the Raza the entire time. The Raza are us. Soylent Green is people.
Oh my
I
gosh.
know. And true to form, three's like, oh, okay, so now we just sell all the weapons, right? I mean, he is like, we're out. Let's go. This is not our monkey, not our circus. We're out of here. And of course, one being who he is like, no, we get a chance to choose who we are and who we want to be. And that is a discussion for another episode, because
Hmm.
this big bad reveal, this drop is where we end up, um,
Yep,
at the
definitely.
end of episode one of Dark Matter,
Hmm.
which by its nature
Indeed.
brings us close to the end of episode one of Dark Chatter. So what do you
Yes.
think, Coco? What do you think?
Um, well, I think it's good. I think it's very, very good.
Very, very good. I think I slept on this show at the time, because of the network it was produced on, and
Do not
obviously.
say that name.
I am
It's the
not going to
first
say the,
name.
it is the worst name. You can't, well, ever since they changed the spelling, it's gone downhill. If only there were people who knew
Whee!
anything about science fiction who would love to be in charge of a science fiction themed television channel. Just saying. But yeah, given the network that it was produced by, I was like, oh, it's going to be good, and then it's going to get canceled
Ugh,
because that's the MO of that network in particular. And
mhm.
but the Asylum, that garbage production company, will get all the monies they want to make all the garbage films. It can rain garbage Sharknadoes down for forever. But
Ugh.
you give us something worth substance and something worth chewing on. And nah, sorry, B.
I think it was
Ah,
just too. It was just too complicated for their little heads.
all the good stuff is, man. I mean, come on, like we only got a season of Caprica. I don't even want to get into it. There's a graveyard full of great television that company killed. Is all I'm gonna say.
Mhm.
Stargate Universe.
Mhm.
Eli lives. Oh, we could do a whole show about Eli. And isn't he the sweetest? Oh, I think about Eli sometimes, and I get all like, I want to be I want to be Eli. Like if I had that choice to make, I want to be able to make that choice. You know what I'm saying? Be
Yeah.
that guy. Be that good guy against all odds. Even though he was simping for her, he still did the right thing in the end. Oh, he was never going to win. But yeah, no, this has been a lot of fun, and I can't wait to do it again. And
Same.
listeners, I hope you had a good time. We hope you had a good time because um,
Indeed.
you're going to hear a lot of us. Well, at least what is it? Is like 39 episodes of us at the very minimum. And
Something like
by
that.
the time we're done with this, though, we're going to speak it into existence on the very first episode. By the time we're done with the initial run of Dark Matter as it has been produced, there will be new Dark Matter content for us to continue the show with. That's,
Definitely.
yeah,
Hashtag Dark
obviously.
Matter Season 4.
Yeah, restore the matter cut.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Coco, my friend, and listeners, our friends, thank you for joining us on episode 1 of Dark Chatter. And hopefully, we've enticed you to join us again for episode 2, which will be titled episode 2 of
Dun
Dark
dun
Matter.
dun.
Go ahead and watch ahead so that you can appreciate the discussion. And if you will look in the show notes of this episode on your catcher of choice, you'll see that there is a couple of options available to you where you can leave a message for us. So if you want to leave a comment, ostensibly a voicemail, and we can review those comments and we'll have them here on the show with us, get you guys involved in the conversation. But also, you'll note that there's an opportunity to contribute to support the show. And that way, Coco and I can, buy coffees and stuff. So, but that's just to say, no one's paying us to do it, and we'll do it anyway because it's too much fun not to.
Of
But with
course.
that, is there anything else you would like to say, my Mojo, before we go?
Just that if you haven't watched this yet, get on it.
Yeah,
If you have watched it and haven't rewatched it, get on it.
yep, yep.
um, but
And if you
yeah, this is
haven't done either of those things, why are you this far
yeah.
into an
Why?
episode about a
Why
show
are
where you
you?
were warned about spoilers?
I was gonna say you haven't watched it and you listen to this. What's wrong with you?
Well, I
That's
mean,
like reading the last
uh,
page of a book.
it is that, or skipping ahead in your choose your own adventure. You don't,
I know.
that's cheating. That's cheating.
Mm,
Well, all right, friends. We hope to hear you again, or well, no, we hope you hear us again soon. And with that, we'll say, keep your ears on.
Bye bye.